Welcome back to the show. My name is Jay Cruz.
I'm Austin Tokar.
You're watching the Blueprints Brocast. Man, I was just thinking this week, like I was watching what was that movie? Just watched the movie the other day. Oh, Indiana Jones. Watched the new Indiana Jones. And I'm not someone for like scary movies. I'm not all that stuff. But typically when you watch a movie, they have previews that are like related to whatever the movie is, right?
Yeah.
So Indiana Jones, it has scary movies in the beginning because it's like a suspense movie and whatnot. So there's all these scary movies, and I'm just like, these are like the worst. They're I hate scary movies. There's no reason to watch them, in my opinion. I know a lot of people like to be scared. I'm not one of those people. But I was thinking, like, man, what is your biggest fear? Like, what would it be? It could be like a normal fear. Like, let's do two. A normal fear that's reasonable, and then like an unreasonable fear that you probably would never encounter, but like you're scared to death of it.
Bro, there's going to be borderline fears, though. It might seem normal to you. Someone else is like, what is this guy talking about right now? That would never happen.
Yeah, that's the point, though. Like, hey, this would never happen.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Man, I think, I'm just going to say from experience, like when I was a kid, I had no problem with this. Flying, I loved it. I loved to travel. Every time we went to Columbus, visit the grandparents, I was like, oh, this is awesome. It's awesome. I love it. Didn't know how much of a pain it was for the parents, though. But now as an adult, I kind of realized that. But I think it just started in the last 2 years. I think I flew to Texas, out to Austin for Faith's first bodybuilding show, and got on the plane. And I was like, all right, this is fine. I'm sitting there and it's cool. But then we start flying. Like we're taking off in the air. We're about 5,000 feet above ground. And then I noticed I'm kind of like jittery and I'm getting pretty nervous. I'm just looking out the window. I'm like, man, that's a long drop down. What would happen if we crashed right now? I had to shut the window closed. And I was like looking around. I see like this 5-year-old kid in the corner. He's having the time of his life. He's like looking out the window like, oh man. He's like banging on the screen. Yeah, remember from Hook?
Yeah,
the kid?
Yeah.
He's like, you're afraid you're going to get sucked out. He's like, no, I'm not. You're afraid you're going to get sucked out. Takes the baseball and starts banging on the window. Yeah, I always think of that scene every time now.
Yeah, it's funny because before you said that, that's the exact scene I was thinking before you even said it.
That seems iconic. That's one of the best parts of that movie.
My favorite part is when when he bangs on it, he's like, you're afraid you're going to get sucked. And he goes like, wipes his eye.
Yeah.
You're going to get sucked out. I don't know why, but that seems so like authentic. Like
I think that's like, when they say like actors come up with things on the spot.
Yeah.
That was definitely not part of it. He's just like, gonna get sucked out.
Yeah. So what is it? It's just flying in general. Like, is it turbulence? Is it like just crashing or?
Man, turbulence makes it much worse. But it's just flying in general because and I guess it's the same thing when you're driving. Your life is kind of in someone else's hand because you're trusting other drivers to be normal, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you're like, okay, I'm gonna drive the speed limit. You're gonna drive the speed limit. I'm gonna trust you. I mean, down here in Austin, I'm gonna say like you're giving a lot of trust in those people because man, they do not know how to drive down here. But you're giving full trust into this pilot and co-pilot. Hopefully is on there.
Yeah.
And then hopefully there's another pilot just like as a passenger on there. Just in case something happens. You never know. But
is anybody on this plane a doctor?
Yeah. We need a doctor. We need another pilot. But yeah, man, you're putting your full trust into someone not to crash this plane. I think there's just too many movies about plane crashes and hijacking. So I'm just like, man, any of these things could happen to me.
That's funny.
But it's like, will that really happen?
I think I probably have two. So one of them is it's not flying, but it's crashing over water. Like I feel like
yeah, dude.
If you crash like in a forest or something like that, the pilot can right before it hits the ground pull up enough so that you can land like semi-smooth. There might be wreckage. Some people might die, but like there's a good chance that somebody will like survive. But if you like crash a plane in water, nobody's surviving that, man. Like there's that one where the guy, the pilot, he was a hero, and he landed the plane.
The movie with Tom Hanks.
And he landed in the Hudson River?
Yeah.
Or the Hudson Lake, or is river? Anyways, it had to have been river.
Yeah.
But then he like saved everybody. The reason why that was a big deal is because nobody crashes in water and people live. That doesn't happen. Yeah. So like, let's just say,
how many people survive a plane crash in general?
Okay. Plane crashes in general, people just die. And we're not trying to like make people have a phobia right now. I'm not saying that, but I mean, the possibilities every day, but especially like over an ocean. Like if you're flying over, this is why I've never been like overseas. Like when they say overseas, I mean I have been to like the Dominican Republic.
You've been to Hawaii, yeah?
No, I haven't been to
You've
Hawaii.
been to Hawaii? Oh, you didn't go on that trip, huh?
No, I went to Panama. So you fly over land. There's portions where you go over like water.
Yeah.
But then I went from Panama to Dominican Republic, and you know how they had that little flight thing on the screen where you could see where the airplane's at, and like I'm so used to it being like over land, and then all of a sudden like I look at it like, oh, I wonder how close we are, and I look and there's no land at all on the screen, and it's just water, and I'm like, dude, if we crash right now, like I already have a hard time swimming, like it's not the easiest thing for me, but on top of that, like in the middle of like we belong on land. That's why we have legs. We don't have gills. We don't have fins. We don't belong in the water. And
hey, but don't worry. They have that floating device as your seat.
No, man, there's so many predators in the water that's where they live. That's where they do their thing. And I'm not equipped to fight it. There's these I don't know if this is real or not, okay? But there's these videos of like, hey, if you ever encounter a shark in the water, don't swim away, because that tells them that you're prey. What you do is you turn towards the shark, you wait for it to get close to you, you put your hand on its nose, and then you like slowly like direct it away, or like turn it sideways and direct it away or something like that. And it does something to the shark where they don't attack you, and like you basically like dominate the shark.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no way someone in like, I would love to hear a story. If somebody out there has a story where they're not an actual professional shark diver, they came across a shark. One, they were able to keep their nerves and be like, oh, I remember seeing this video. You know what I need to do? I need to just chill. I need to face the shark, and then I need to put my hand on his. I would love to hear a story where someone actually did that.
Yeah.
Because while, sure, maybe it's possible, I highly doubt anybody would have the nerves to stay and face forward a shark and do that. That
Like,
just
doesn't depend on the type of shark too. I mean, like, tiger sharks can be super aggressive. I mean, they might not be in deep sea water, but like, what if you run into one of those instead of like a great white?
So I've seen two different videos, I believe. I think one was a bull shark and one was and like two different ones were great white sharks.
Yeah.
One of them was like a medium-sized great white. The other one was like a really big one, and the other one was like a bull shark. And I was like, okay, that seems like, legit. And the other ones are like little, like not a tiger shark, but they're like just the regular like thrasher sharks or whatever it is, and they do that to them. And there's this other video where this lady like grabbed a bunch of sharks and like turned them all up right side up, so that their noses were in the sand and their tails were hanging up, and they just sat there until she moved them. And I'm like, how?
You ain't doing that, bro.
Yeah.
You see something like 2 times your size coming at you, 3 times your size, you're not going to be like, yeah, that video.
Yeah.
Watch this, guys.
Let me go through the files of my mind and remember exactly what I'm supposed to do.
That's like when they say like different types of bears, right? Like when the brown bear comes, like just play dead. That bear walks up to you, is like, all right, got a meal set for me right here, man.
He's just chilling. There's a saying or something like that, like black bears, where you're supposed to like do something in versus brown bears. Or like,
I don't know what. It could seem like it can get kind of racist.
Oh,
black bear, black run.
I don't know what it is. I'm sure there's some saying like the snakes. There's ones for those too, but yeah. What is that's like the normal fear. I think everybody has those fears. What is one that like just seems illogical that probably wouldn't happen, but you're like, no, it could happen?
I think I was just telling you before the podcast, but I just imagine like, you're this tester for this rocket, right? So it's supposed to hit at some level of the atmosphere. And I don't remember all the laters and all that stuff, what stratosphere, atmosphere, and all that stuff. But you're only supposed to go to a certain point. But like once you reach that point, if you go beyond it, you're gonna get sucked into space, right? I know gravity's pulling you down, but there's like that little barrier. If you go past it, you're going off into space and you can't come back. There's no little rockets on top of the ship you're flying like that'll pull you back down. So like, I just imagine like if I was a test rocket, or like if you're some sort of plane that's like right on that edge, pilot goes a little bit too high. I don't know the physics and everything, but like you get sucked up and then you're not coming back, bro.
It's like I took physics, so there's this thing called escape speed that you have to be going a certain like angle or speed to even leave like Earth in general. There's this I think it was a boy band group that was doing a music video, and they took a spaceship to the edge of space, and it does like this maneuver, and it like flips, and then you're like weightless for like 6 to 7-9 minutes, or not minutes, but like just seconds.
Yeah.
So they would do this maneuver on the edge of space, and then they would be weightless, and then they would do whatever it was. I think some movies are filmed that way too.
Yeah.
But I'm like what you just said. Okay, I'm up here filming a movie. I'm getting paid like $1 million or $2 million to do it.
Yeah.
But you're on the edge of space, and the pilot passes out on this maneuver, and then you're going to space, to infinity and beyond, and no one's on there qualified to bring the thing back in.
How do we get back in? I don't know, man. Pilot's knocked out. You seen that video where like they have this top down view of this whatever carrier pointing down to Earth, and there's like this astronaut that like he got the astronaut suit on, and he jumps out of it, but he has like a parachute or something, but he's just like flying down.
Oh, it's a Red Bull. I think it's a Red Bull.
That's what it's called? Okay,
video.
yeah, I've seen that video. See, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like,
he's at the absolute highest you can be or something like that. And if you were to jump like from like 10 feet high or something like that, you just jump out into space. But
Yeah.
he's in like the highest or the lowest altitude before you can just fall out into space. So he just jumps from there and like skydive from there or something like that.
yeah, yeah.
It was like he like skydived from the bottom of like, it looked like the video that he skydived from the bottom of like a satellite that was in orbit or something like that.
Yeah. But what is that movie with Sandra Bullock? Really boring movie. But the whole time they're pretty much trying to save her from floating in space or something. It's like,
oh yeah. I can't remember the name, but
yeah, but that just gave me this really nasty gut feeling. I was like, man, that is scary. Because guess what? You're spending the next 6 days maybe. I don't know how long you can survive without water and food, but probably around that 6-day period, no water, just floating there, just staring. That's all you can do all day. There's no way you're falling asleep.
it's called Gravity. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
There was parts where she was like getting super cold, and then she was like passing out, and like her was it George Clooney?
I'm pretty sure it's George Clooney.
George Clooney would like appear in the rocket or her little capsule with her because she was hallucinating and stuff. But yeah, that's scary. Yeah. Like where you're still alive, there is a possibility of hope, but you just hang on for as long as possible. But then you have no idea. And
I feel like at that point though, you just kind of like, I wouldn't even hang on to hope. I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna fly out in space. I'm gonna see what I can see. Because what's the point?
Yeah, I guess
pretty much dead.
But the thing is though, when you get to see things like that, like half of the thing is like I get to take a photo for like Instagram, or I get to tell someone, oh, guess what I saw. But when you go and see that, you're like, this is it. I'm gonna see this, and no one's gonna know, but I did.
That my last picture right here is a selfie of you and the Earth and the moon or whatever.
Maybe they'd be able to retrieve it. Like you don't fly too far out.
I don't know if the signal hit that far, man.
No, you just hold on to it, and they retrieve the
body,
your body and the rocket.
Yeah, it'd be pretty much frozen. You can open the helmet, you freeze or something.
Yeah, later, dude. So one of the previews of the movie I was watching, Indiana Jones, was the Meg 2. I never watched the first. Huh?
What is it about?
I think it's a megalodon.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's a really big shark.
Yeah.
So this isn't my fear. It's not the shark, but this made me think of it. They were like really deep in the water, and there's this scene where the lady's like, oh yeah, this thing is megalodon proof or whatever, and then the shark breaks through the glass and just chomps her and pulls her out. Like every single shark movie is pretty much the same. It's like, hey, this is shark proof, they'll never get to us. Jaws gets through. I think Deep Blue Sea,
same thing. Samuel Jackson.
We need to stay together. We need to, and then he just gets eaten. Yeah. But my big fear is just like, okay, let's say she for some reason dodged the shark. Now you're in like this super deep water, no way to breathe. No, like again, it's not your element. So like, yeah, my biggest fear is, well, not my biggest rational fear is crashing over water, but my irrational fear is like being somewhere like super deep in the water where we don't belong there. I mean, what is it? We know more about space than we do about our deep sea, and deep sea is here on Earth, like it's here, but we know more about space. So like, what else is down there? Like, what kind of? Let's say you did survive. So in that movie, they had these like suits that they could be down there in. They were like strong suits that gave them like, I don't know, Mega Man powers, where they can like punch through
survive
stuff.
The pressure, basically.
Yeah, survive the pressure and all that. But let's say there's no way to go back up, but then you just got to survive down there. What are you going to encounter? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just not. I'm not with that. Like it could be anything.
Man, like from the videos I've seen, I mean, there's like different types of squids and octopuses that live down there.
Yeah.
I would not want to be caught by one of those things. Like you've seen the giant squid videos.
Yeah.
All that. Those things are massive. Like, was it 20 feet, 25 feet? I think 50 was the biggest.
Not 25 for sure.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not trying to get caught up by like some squid get wrapped up and, that beak's piercing my little cap. I'm like, oh, shoot.
No, yeah, all that. And then just like, okay, I already don't want to get like a big old boa constrictor, like sucking the or squeezing the air out of me and then eating me head first.
Yeah.
But then now you're under the water and you have a squid like squeezing the life out of you. And then
just imagine like a giant eel, like the size of an anaconda. And just like they can extend like their mouth does. It's like, oh, shoot.
Yeah. And then like even being deep sea is just a scenario where I have to hold my breath.
But you wouldn't even be able to see anything anyway. It's too dark. Like you would adapt somewhat, but you're not going to adapt to the way those animals are already adapted down
There's
there.
that's what I'm saying. It's not
Pure
our element.
darkness down there.
It's not our element. There's no way we have no. It's not like you can create something. It's not like you're in the middle of the woods and you can create a spear to fend off wolves and like start a fire or any of that. Like you can't do it. There's nothing you can do down there.
You could float.
You can float back to the top if you'll make it before you get eaten.
Hey, so the Mariana Trench, that's the deepest part of the ocean, right?
Yeah, it's like 7 miles or something.
You know what's crazy? That was right where we lived. It's literally right there.
Yes, right out in the bay.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Monterey, California. For those you don't know, that's where we grew up.
Yeah.
But that's crazy that, 13,000 feet, something like that.
Yeah.
Right there.
The good news is if you were ever in that scenario where you're deep sea, it's immediate death.
Yeah.
Like no matter what. It's like, I mean, I hate to mention it, but like Ocean Gate guys, when that submarine imploded, it was instant. They didn't even probably get an opportunity to take a breath. Their lungs were probably crushed.
No, it was like 0.0001 seconds. Like,
yeah,
you don't feel anything.
It's immediate. They didn't even maybe there's a possibility that there's creaking in the capsule. Like, oh shoot, this seems kind of like it.
Well, we don't have any camera footage or anything, so
Yeah.
you don't know what exactly happened.
It could either be that way where they're like, oh, like this doesn't sound right, or it could have just been like catastrophic, instantaneous.
But I mean, that whole time when you hear like the remote's dead,
Yeah. Wait. So, what information did you read on it? Like the guy stopped being able to like control it.
I try not to get into all that kind of stuff, so I only briefly read over it.
Okay.
I think I don't know. I don't even want to say anything. I might be making. There's so many memes and TikToks out there. Like, I think they were just making fun of like the fact that they were controlling it with an Xbox controller.
But was it really though? Because I saw the controller thing, and it's like one of the. It's not. It wasn't even.
No, I saw another video where the guy was talking about like, oh, and this is how you control. Like he was giving a whole tour of the submarine. He's like, all right, and this is funny because you're controlling everything from this remote control, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, but it was just funny, like watching the video of them getting inside. And I think this was I think it was a video of one of their first adventures with this submarine before those people got on there. Like it would just show them like closing off the hatch, and then you can hear the bolting from the outside. Man, I don't know about that.
Oh, they had to get bolted in.
Yeah, you can't lock it from the inside. You have to bolt it from the outside. So like, that's what they were saying. Like even if people did find them, they would have to have some sort of special equipment to even take them out.
Oh, so they would have had to extract the entire submarine back up, even if they had lost control. So like, you almost had to
the air would have ran out already.
Oh yeah,
it's like there was no way of like saving it.
And it wasn't even like not that Xbox and PlayStation make the most legit controllers, but it was like a knockoff, like controller, like some random stuff that you would use for your PC or something like that. Yeah. So
I'm just like, man, I don't know if I'd want to go to a submarine if I saw that. So how do you move this thing? Oh, this controller right here, and there's only one. You don't have a backup? Oh yeah, we should probably bring that one too. Hey, actually, you know what? I think my biggest fear, and I don't think it's irrational because everyone likes to scuba dive or just dive in general. But like, there was a story I was hearing about, and there's lots of stories like this, where these guys, they went to a lake and it has all these caverns in it, right? And people like to scuba dive and all that stuff. So I think this guy brought his kid and his kid's friend on this trip, and they were like scuba diving in this lake, but there's lots of caverns spread throughout, and there's like a certain point you hit where you can't go past, right? Because it says people would get lost. There's too many caverns. You can't find each other. So what they think happened is that one of the kids, like, okay, the two guys like went past this certain point just to like kind of explore it a little bit, but only one came up. So what they think happened is one of them went a little bit further and then went down to one of the caverns, but there's so many other caverns within the cavern that he couldn't find his way out. So you're stuck down there and it's dark still and you're trying to find your way out. Like, it's a freaking maze. Like, I think that's one of the only things worse. It's just like you're thinking about that, like, oh shoot, which hatch did I come down? Like, how do I get out of here? You go down even further, you don't know where you're at.
That was kind of like that happened in real life. You watched that movie, I was like 13 days.
No, there's so many stories like that.
Or 13, it's 13 days, I think, or something like that. 13 boys or something like that, where I think it was in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Where they go into this cavern. Oh, it's a soccer team, and their coach takes them into this cavern, and then there's a bunch of rain. And so then once they go in, the water rose in there, so they couldn't get out. So they were stuck in there for like 13 days.
Oh, yeah. Didn't they crawl? And then there was like this little point where there was some room they can see outside, but they couldn't get outside so people can hear them. Right? I don't know if there's a movie about that, but I've heard a story like that.
Yeah, I think I don't remember what it was exactly. I think there was like a pipe or something. Maybe I'm mixing movies and they were like banging the pipe. But I think what happened was like some full on like Navy SEALs, like divers or some like professional divers went in to go like, I think it was like a mile or something like that, scuba diving. It was like a 3-hour dive just to get to them. And dude, sorry, I spoiled the movie for anybody, but they full on like sedated them and then put the scuba on their face and then dragged them through because there's no way they felt like they couldn't do it with them awake
the whole way.
Yeah, because they would panic and they would use up their oxygen faster.
Yeah,
and then they would also struggle against the person pulling them. Yeah. But like that would be like that's a pretty good fear.
That's a nightmare, bro. Anything that has to do with claustrophobia, I'm not about that. Like those dudes who like to go into those little caverns, like crawling spaces. You've seen those videos?
Where they squeeze through them?
Yeah. I'm like, who wants to do that? Hey, man, I just spent the last like 16 hours crawling through these caverns, got deeper and deeper, and I got stuck. Like, what? Oh, it was great. Like, you're crazy, bro.
I can understand, like, if you go in there and you have a rope behind you, like it's tied to like a stump outside, and then you're going through these caverns and you have a way back. But if you're doing that and you're just like, oh, I'll remember how to go back.
Hey, but what if the rope was like gnawed on a little bit and you got back? Like, what the heck was that?
That or like maybe you're going and as you're going, it's like rubbing against a rock or something like that, and it like just snaps. Or like some guy's like, oh, what's this rope doing here? Cuts the rope.
There's some good rope. Man, it's stuck on something. Now let's take this other half of it. I think there's just too many movies where like these weird things happen, you know, like I think I was watching it's like I think it was a foreign movie. It's like a European movie. You know, they have those on Netflix. Oh no, it was on Prime Video. This chick goes in with her boyfriend and like a few other couples. They like to do those cavern diving things, right? Or just explore like cave dives. So they didn't expect to like go deeper than they did. I think they went to the wrong cavern or something. So they went through, but one of the persons got stuck in the cavern, so they had to go back in and like pull them out through the other end. So they pulled them in, but that person couldn't get back out the other way when they tried to reverse out. So they had to go through the caverns and find another way through. And then there's like these little gremlin things in there, like vampires, I guess.
Oh, so it was a horrible.
I was like, that's even worse because you're traveling deeper in the caverns. Not only do you have to find another way out, but now you got little vampire things just like crawling through there, picking you off one by one. It's pitch black.
Man, the more we sit here and just think about it, the fears keep multiplying. There's the Indiana Jones movie. I think it was the Temple of Doom, where him and the little Asian kid are like,
Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones.
Yeah, Dr. Jones. Indy, I love you. Where they're in like, Indiana Jones pushes that statue back, and they go into this like passageway in the back, and then there's like bugs like all over the walls and like centipedes, and they're walking through that. Like even that kind of stuff, I'm just like, like how do like fear factor, dude. I think that's where like man, I couldn't, where they have them in those little like caskets or tombs or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then they just pour cockroaches and whatever else on them. Like I probably could handle that. It's not gonna like get me crazy scared.
Yeah.
But that's like I just wouldn't submit myself to that. Why would you do that?
You know what's crazy? I didn't know that was Joe Rogan.
What?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Why? Because he had hair?
Yeah. Whenever I like, it's been so long since I watched it, but when I think back to that, I'm like, that's not Joe Rogan. That's
Yeah,
not him.
it's a different person for sure. That was before he was he wasn't really even known then.
I think he was a fan of MMA, like in the fighting scene, and then like I think he was still doing comedy skit stuff.
Yeah.
But he wasn't like big.
Yeah, I didn't even know he did comedy at that time. All I knew was that he just did Fear Factor, and then that was it. And then I saw him doing MMA. I was like, oh shoot, like that's Joe Rogan. Like, and then
obviously podcast.
yeah.
But hey, back to that flying the plane into the ocean. You know, it's funny. I in my head, I'm just imagining, oh yeah, you'll be fine if you fly in the ocean. That's cool. And then I'm thinking like my biggest worry is that, getting my suitcase. Like that stuff is gone.
But what about my stuff?
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, I just lost all my stuff. But then I also think like, so if I escape through the hatch and I'm floating on this little safety net, can I bring my backpack with me? You know, because I already have it with me. I'm like,
Yeah.
should I do that or should I let it drop in the ocean?
No, man, you take everything. Like they always tell you, oh, don't take your stuff. They say for you not to take your stuff because it will block other people, like trying to get out, because like you're trying to get your stuff and you're going to stop people from getting out. But if I can put my backpack on and still move and get out, hey, I'm taking what I can take, especially like if you have, because I'll bring snacks.
Yeah.
You know, I always have snacks.
Hey,
in my
don't take that. I got food in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'm going to take my snacks. And if we're out on the ocean for like a couple of days, like, hey, you didn't take your bag with you. I took my bag. I'm eating my protein bars.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you're like, I'm not sharing either. You were the one that told me not to breathe.
yeah, that's a tough scenario. I mean, I watched this.
But I feel like they'd rescue you pretty quickly, you know, because they see like a plane drop off, they're losing signal from them. They'll be like, all right, where'd it disappear? There's some boats out there, and send it over.
Yeah, an airplane. Well, I don't know.
If you're like deep in the Atlantic or something, it might take a while, but
I don't know how that works though, because there's people that disappear all the time. I don't know if the Bermuda Triangle is really a thing or if it's still a thing, but you know, things have disappeared over that and never come back. But like, I see what you're saying. They're gonna have a signal or something, and they're gonna tell
response for like an app. That sucks though. Like if there's no response, I think there's like a certain time period they wait, and they're like, all right, let's go send out a ship or something. Or
yeah. But that also, then they have to do like, okay, they could be in this radius because they're at this altitude. They could have glided to this, so now like they're going in this direction. So it's not like, hey, they're at this longitude, latitude. They're in this area. So
like,
it's probably easy.
Yeah,
it's probably easy with an airplane. They just fly over and find it. But if you're trying to find that by boat, like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while.
Yeah, I get why they don't want like a little Swiss Army knife or something like that on the plane, because you could stab somebody or you could take apart the seats, or you know, who knows what you would do with a little Swiss Army knife. But I'm like, if I'm in a survival situation, like I need this. I used to put like stuff inside of my check-in just in case of that scenario, like random stuff like a Swiss Army knife or whatever, just in case. And like rope. You never know. I read this book. It's called Hatchet when I was like in 3rd grade. And this kid is flying with this pilot, and he's going to visit his dad or something like that. The pilot has a heart attack, and then they crash in the jungle, like in a like a river, or not a river, like a lake. And the only thing that he gets out of the whole wreckage is his hatchet. He has a hatchet, and it's called Hatchet. And then he survives just with the hatchet. For
you could do a lot with that though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You use a hammer, you can chop things. You can, shave it up a little bit, make it sharper if you need to.
Yeah,
that thing will last a while. But you know what's crazy? Now that I'm thinking about it, thinking about all the movies where like you can go all the way to basically where the plane is, pre 2001, right?
What do you mean?
Like because 9/11.
Oh,
yeah.
So
there was no security basically.
Yeah, you could go all the way to the gate.
I was watching that. I was just like, that's crazy, because I wasn't really thinking about that at like 99, whatever. I don't think about that as a kid, right?
Yeah.
Security is like brand new. Like, it's kind of crazy that you can go all the way to that point.
Yeah, and I think
like they trusted people that much.
I think these days they wouldn't have an issue with it, but I think that it slows down.
That slows down security though.
Yeah, it slows down security.
Too many people.
Yeah.
Let me drop you off and let me take you all the way over there.
Yeah. That's the only reason why I think today they don't do it anymore. Is not because of security reasons, but because it's become easier without all the extra bodies
Yeah.
in the lobbies and by the gate and stuff like that. It's
I still think there are better ways to run an airport, though. Like,
dude. Okay,
you worked for TSA for the
yeah
longest time, so
yeah. I was about to say something.
yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't know what you get in trouble for or not, but I feel like when TSA first started and I was doing TSA, nobody was safe on any of those planes. Like there's the people that I worked with. So you're supposed to watch the X-ray, right?
Yeah.
There's like a couple different positions. There's the
Yeah.
there's
I
the,
get where you're going with this.
yeah, there's the X-ray person. There's the person that stands in front of the metal detector.
Yeah.
There's another person that does pat downs. There's another person that does bag checks, and there's another person that's a loader. And whenever I would do bag checks, there'd be like this guy. I don't remember what his name was, but this dude, there's a number of them that were extremely incompetent. Like did not know how to look at the screen and see things on there. So one time, there's a bag going by, and I could see there's an obvious gun in the bag, obvious, like it's there. And he's like, "Oh, all good," and he just press forward and lets it go. And I was like, and I don't have to tell the X-ray operator necessarily that I'm going to check a bag. I can do random checks.
Yeah.
So like, oh, I'm just going to randomly check this bag. And so I checked the bag, and sure enough, there's a gun in there, but it was a prop gun. So the front was welded shut.
Yeah.
So there was no way it was going to shoot, but it was a prop gun because this guy was an actor or something like that. We had a lot. It was a Long Beach airport. We had a lot of actors that went through all their time. So this guy was an actor, and he had a prop gun in there. And I took it out, and I noticed that it was, but I still had to call the police over because you never know. They might try and hijack a plane, even with a prop gun, and say, "Oh, I didn't know." But I found the gun and basically gave it to the policeman. But there's so many scenarios like that. So originally it was a facade of safety because stuff will go through there all the time, just crazy stuff. Yeah. And if people have a fear of flying, like there was that one recently, that lady who's like, that's not a person or whatever it was, like he's not real.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what that's all about. Oh. Here goes one. I know I'm about to switch the subject real quick. Stay on the same subject, but different topic. Aliens, bro. So the government has like, oh, they're out there, and we have UFOs. What's your thought of that? Any fears on that? Like, what is your, unexpertise thought about that?
Man, it's just funny. Like remember that whole thing? They started releasing information. I remember there was some sort of thing where they had to release information on aliens in a certain time period. And I guess this was the start of it. I didn't keep up with it, but yeah,
that was right when COVID started.
Yeah,
and Joe Rogan was like, "Oh man, I can't wait, man. I gotta find out because that's what he's all about. Like, oh, UFOs, they're real. I know they are.
Yeah, but it's just funny. Like it's so far from home that it doesn't like bother me in any way, in any sense. Like this dude was like, well, hold up real quick. This dude basically said like, oh, we got extraterrestrials, whatever. They said non-human being or something like that. And then I guess that's basically saying they're aliens. Well, like nobody cared. Like literally nobody cared except for all the conspiracy, alien freak people. They're like, why is no one paying attention to this? Like they basically said aliens are real, which they really didn't. They just said, non-human, whatever that is. So to me, there's like far worse things like close to home than there is aliens. Yeah. So I'm just kind of like, if it's real, it'll come up. If it's not, it's like no big deal, right? Yeah. Like at some point, you're like, okay, there must be aliens somewhere, like just somewhere in the universe. Mm-hmm. Like if they're real, they're real. But I haven't seen anything. People say UFOs all the time, but I have no, deep thoughts about it.
Yeah, I have some thoughts about it, but specifically that clip where he was saying, "Oh, hey, this is an unidentified flying object, and we found a non-human bio on it or whatever." Here's the thing: if somebody comes from another country and they come into our country, what do you call them?
Illegal alien.
An illegal alien. Okay, it's all wording. All right. So like this could be a regular airplane, but they just didn't identify it. It was over our airspace. So now it's a UFO. It's just unidentified. Yeah. It's not saying it's extraterrestrial. Nowhere in that thing did he say, "Hey, we found extraterrestrial." He said non-human. So what if this scenario is it's a regular plane. that no one, it's just not identified by our U.S. government when it was flying over. We shot it down, and it was, I don't know, maybe it was an Asian airplane, and maybe they had, for some reason, they had dogs on board.
Yeah.
And guess what? You find the dogs, that's non-human.
Yeah.
Right. So like there was no specific language that said, hey, these these are spacecrafts or aircrafts from outer space, and there was no like, hey, these are actual extraterrestrials, things that aren't from our planet. That those words weren't used. So people use those a lot to like say something but not say something, and let people use conjecture to say, oh, this is what it is.
Like, this is what it is.
Yeah, but nowhere in there that I see like, oh, this is what people are saying it is. So I was chill on it.
Yeah. I mean, I think this dude on TikTok put it best. I think he's a sciencey guy. I don't know for sure, but he said basically there's no known way that humans know of, at least, to travel at the speed of light. Yet these aliens do. They know how to travel at the speed of light. Their molecules have to shift completely to be able to travel at the speed of light. And they're traveling from whatever part of the galaxy or universe, and they come like 1 mile away from the Earth, and all of a sudden they crash land. How does that work? Like they're super
dodging
advanced,
all
super
these asteroids, dodging all these planets.
Yeah, so they're just highly intelligent beings, like way beyond what we know, but they still crash land onto the Earth multiple times. Like, come on.
Or even like they're able to dodge all of those things, going light speed.
Yeah,
and then we can shoot them down with a missile or something like that.
Yeah.
Not just, yeah. Hey, yeah, that makes way more sense.
Obviously, I wouldn't really care about them either way then, because I'm like, well, they were dumb enough for us to shoot them down, so what do I care about them, bro?
Yeah, and then on top of that, like, okay, so how is it possible that all these aliens, like if they are out there and they're coming across this space, and space is so big, why would they keep coming here and crashing? Aren't there a lot of other places that could be crashing? Are there so many of them that this just is like the happening spot where they want to crash? Like, that doesn't make any sense. We would see these things. There'd be some sort of like evidence of them crashing on Mars or even the stinking moon. Like, it's right there.
I think like on Joe Rogan's podcast, they're talking about like how what there could be as far as aliens. Like maybe they're just watching us and they're just doing little things here and there to like mess with us, see what we would do, basically as an experiment, like we do to monkeys, basically. So what if they're just like, just like sending little planes over and just like forcing it to crash on the Earth and see what we would do about it? They're probably just laughing.
I mean, that's a scenario too. Because
that's what I would imagine would be happening. Because like I don't think any being that can, like I said, travel at the speed of light is going to crash like all of a sudden on Earth for just no apparent reason multiple times. Either maybe it's a different species of aliens or whatever, but like either they're just experimenting with us or it's nothing else. There's just no way.
When you say it that way, it just seems really stupid.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like you're like, all right, aliens. Well, if they're not super smart, then they probably just don't exist.
Yeah,
at least to the capacity that we think of.
Yeah, definitely. And then people that do see them, there's something like drug wise going on with them, or mentally unstable, where you would see something where you're just like, oh, I saw
aliens, man.
Yeah, it's never someone rational. It's never somebody rational. I've never seen that, and I highly doubt.
Oh, you gotta look on TikTok then, because there's some people that go all out on these things. They're like, oh, let me bring up this project and that project, and you're like, dang, dude, you spend a lot of time in your house.
Yeah, see, I don't know about all that. Anyways, we're out of time for today. Thank you for sharing your fears, man.
Yeah,
turn into aliens. But thank you guys for
aliens.
What's that?
It always ends up being with aliens.
Always ends up being aliens. Thanks for hanging out with us. The biggest way you guys can support us if you enjoy our channel is by subscribing and also sharing it with somebody that you know. Likes would be appreciated, and you will hear us in the next podcast.
Peace.